Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. It's a cold one today in northern New Mexico. So I'm antsy, but also calm. Let's do the standing. So begin with the end in mind, right? Which is total health, total perception, right? Uh, Getting your bridge, which is your body, right, to function at its highest, right? So if you're new to the channel, this is a live show. So turn on notifications and subscribe and turn on notifications. See what happens. I do it live because these aren't prepared, right? I know what I'm talking about because it's about the solution, right? And to call it a solution creates opposition instantly because using that word will immediately get an intellect dissecting what I'm saying and looking for the leaks, right? And so it creates opposition as soon as you say it. So, and it's just like meditation, right? We can't meditate if we set out to meditate, right? It destroys the capability of getting into that state by making it a front brain fucking decision. So how you meditate is you go inside your body, right, with your awareness. And when you're doing Qigong, that awareness has a focus. A focus. That's how the Aussies say focus. Yeah. So if you're new to the channel, watch the how-to instructions at the bottom of the video list, right? Pay attention to the lives because that's how I broadcast, and they're saved in the live list, right? Use your whole interface, right? The interface is right designed by these corporations isn't designed to work right. It's designed to work in order to funnel you and channel you, right? Not only in where you click, but also what you think, right? And so this content permits you to actually allow your cognition to be effective, right? Instead of just parroting and mimicking and aping, right? So yeah, you begin with the Qigong, you get in a meditative state to clear your mind. When your awareness is inside your body, you can only be in the present. So we stand in the horse stance, right? Feet shoulder width, hands in the bow position, right? This is the Qigong standing, which washes your body in the Qi, right? Which is the never-ending fount of power, right? And so you get that, right? You're building the bridge while you're creating space, right, in your mind for the new. And it's not just to be empty, right? It's to make space for something to arrive, right? We're here with all of our gifts for a fucking reason, right? So whatever arrives will be recognizable by your gifts. So hands in front, when your hands are facing out, you're like blasting juice, right? Energy out of your hands. All right, move to the center position, hands in front of heart, arms in a bow, which is slightly bent, Shoulders down, scapula flat, chin down, lumbar out, glutes relaxed, thoracic spine, which is this area, pushed forward, chin drop, and then feel your whole spine separate in the vertical upwards, right? Anti-gravity. We'll do 3 breaths per. So I'm talking, so just do your own breaths, right? I swear to fucking God, right? This opens. So in the top position, hands in front of your pineal, same level as your pineal gland, which is your third eye. If you do this silent out breath that I talk about all the time, you will activate your pineal, right? Because it hears the vibration of the silence, right? And wants to resonate with it. So, sorry, have to deal with my own internal body problems. So let's practice that silent out breath, right? So let's expel the lungs for this practice, this training breath. Now breathe in slowly. Breathe out silent. Let your spine extend upwards. Hold that. It's like really cold here. So I'm dealing with a chilly upper room. There's a downstairs here with the fireplace. This fireplace is such a pain in the ass. So it's solid fuel, you guys. Most of y'all that live in the city don't understand solid fuel. When you live in a rural area, in a place like this in New Mexico in the mountains, it's 8,500 feet right here. It can get pretty cold. So, right, I purposely put in a title of something I've been thinking about that I forget to say, when I'm in the previous talks. And that's this whole competition versus cooperation thing. I gotta get my energy out, you guys, a little bit. Yeah, so this is a critical aspect, right? This is where a lot of discussions break down because both sides have merit, and you can't really say it's one or the other, but you can actually. You fucking can. So cooperation is actually more effective, right? As a survival strategy than competition, right? Competition is the default mode, right? And but when you're a conscious being that requires a sharing of information, a storage of collected knowledge in order to maintain sources of value, which are technology. So listen to the fucking podcast. The first fucking 4 episodes are about Marshall McLuhan, right? And how radical innovation, right? I don't even think he actually used that term, but that's what he was talking about, is these inventions, right, that change the scope and the scale of human interaction. And so, yeah, so it's like we forget and we take for granted, right, that everything that we do, right, everything that we do is linked to the stuff that we make. There's no progression through time, and an addition to the collective knowledge without this, constant creative effort that we are built to do. This is our gift. And so the whole this whole thing is about like where we went wrong, right? How we can go wrong with this gift. And so it's like pointing out the root cause, of the unfolding of our existence, right? In as time passes, right? And we've discussed, and we all know, and I also agree, right? And you notice I use the word know and not fucking believe, right? That all time exists at once. It's a part of our gift is to come into a portion of the totality in which the passing of time is observable, right? Which makes it so we can actually touch our surroundings and interact with it, right? Are you following? It's like, to me, all this just like when I'm talking and I'm hearing it, it's like it makes sense to me, this anything that we can imagine, right, is possible, but also using our ability to visualize, we can create mental experiments in our minds. This is what I do. And so it's like, this is our most valuable instrument. Yeah, it's a fuzzy edge, right? It's not perfect, right? And that's actually the hack. That's the trick, is to recognize that you can never be certain, right? That you can only have a particular benchmark, right? You can only have a particular amount of progress towards perception of the actual, right? And so you have to recognize, if you want to get closer to actual perception, right, to full perception of the actual, right, then you have to permit that it's possible that there's something that you don't know, right, that would change the way it currently seems, right? And so this is like when I say it, to me it makes sense. It fucking does it not fucking make sense to you, right? I label it as entertainment, right? And that's like camouflage. And, you know, my plaid PJs are camouflage, right? The fact that I'm showing you where I live, right, is camouflage in the standard model, right? Because everyone's putting on a package, right? There's no package here. Like, this is the package, right? This is it. So fuck the standard model, right? So this is what I say, is that this is how we can go wrong, right? And it is this purposeful permission of the superposition. Purposeful permission of superposition. Wow, that's like the beginning of a rap. Right? Allows the space in your mind for intuitive ignition, right? You have these gifts for a reason, right? Stop looking around like there's something needs to be done for pleasing yourself. You know? Anyway, it's this purposeful paradox, right? It's allowing of the paradox of that our gift is supplied to us, and this is why we have it, is to actually realize it, right? And so this dissolving of the self, right, does not take away your gifts, right? Because this is why we're here. The dissolving of the self permits your gifts to be fully actualized. Right? And so that is the paradox, the superposition, right? The allowance of the individual and the collective, right? The body and the spirit to be the same thing, right? This polarity, actually, we remember, right, that polarity is unity in disguise. And so this division is the throwing, right, of a pebble into the pond of creation, right? This when you identify with your individual self, when you try to define yourself, right? Then, right, you create a polarity, right, of that self and the anti-self, right? And so you just don't fucking define yourself, right? And permit the natural polarity, right? So this is where it gets difficult, because the laws of the universe apply to society, right? They apply to civilization. And they create this thing, this cycle, right? And so a friend of mine and I were discussing this, like this repetition of cycles and this self-repeating pattern, right? This fractal nature of reality. And so this is where it's tricky, right? Because we create this rhythm, right, that operates on the same principles, but it's built on top of the reality or nature or the actual creation, right? And so then we have this isolated bubble that's operating on a false polarity, right? And so it's repeating a cycle, right? And it's also grinding out a product, you know? And this is the shit that we make. And so this is where it fucking gets hard, right? Because the stuff we make is not wrong. That's why we're here, right? Right. Our gifts are all about being creative. So when we're born, this nature versus nurture thing, right, is that all of us have this like hardware that we have, already built in. And if it's brought up properly, then the hardware will grow to its full operating capacity, right? So this wetware, maybe, so to speak, wetware, uh, requires the nurturing, right? It requires a nurturing. But so like where we went wrong, right, is to isolate our rhythm, right, from the rhythm of nature. And so how is it, right? How is it that I have arrived where we are? It's, to me, sometimes, I'm thinking it's like, if you think about these ascended masters, from the ancient past, right? And this Mithras, this the first fucking god, like what his fucking story, like his story represents, right? It is this purposeful fucking intervention, right, into the natural order, to build a false construct on top of reality. And so this is the part that, for the mainstreamers and the standard modelists, would be like, bam, can't handle it, can't handle this shit, right? And so there's a lot of things that we're skipping over. It's like, okay, so if, right, all from one, right, then how is it that there's these separate higher dimensional beings, right? It's that higher dimension, right, is still all from one, right? Same fucking difficulties, right? In a different way, like this conundrum of recognizing the self, right, as separate from the everything else. And so the idea that this whole thing that we're doing, right, is was started, right, as with an objective in mind, this, and it's knowing whatever that thing is, right? And I'm saying right now that these myths hold truths, right? And they tell stories that we need to take heed of, and no one ever talks about this one, right? And Mithras is, for one, right, one thing, the god of contracts. Like, how is it that the first god that is recorded is the god of contracts? Like, where the fuck does that come in, right, in the natural order, so like I'm trying to, if you're listening to this, to comprehend where we went wrong, right? And it begins with the destruction of the solar system, right? The smashing, the bringing of large, massive objects into the inner solar system and fucking everything up and changing everything, right? It's like, that's the sacrifice, right? That's the sacrifice that's represented by the bull in the Mithras myth, right? And so it creates this whole new fucking cascading series of events, right? That through destruction and sacrifice, you get this bounty, right? But, right, the sacrifice and the bounty are linked. And so you create this cycle, this rhythm, this unnatural rhythm, right? And that's what I want to call attention to, is that because it has to operate on the fucking laws of the universe, right? Because there's no getting around that shit. But because there's this particular default mode, right? This the rules, it's because you can manipulate basically a conscious mind, right, into, right, a belief structure. And once, and you know, so a civilization or a species that is sentient, right, that is self-aware, right, I mean, fuck, man, if I had to write a book about this, it would be like 6 chapters in order to get to from A to B, right? About what are the features of a self-aware species? Like, what is it? You know, what permits that to, or what is linked to self-awareness? You know, and it's this creation, right? This ability to create, which is this ability to visualize, right? And so the other thing about a self-aware creature, right, is that where is the self-aware species, right, that is that each member of it is isolated and does not relate to the other members of the species, right? So you can get to this idea that it is that creativity is linked with self-awareness, and you can't have prolonged creativity, right, for a mortal life form without a generational process involved, right? And that's the preservation of the collective knowledge. And so, right, so this idea, right, of where we went wrong, what is this civilization, right? What are the features of a self-aware, a sentient species? And is it like, this is where I think we all like have our blinders on, is to think that it is a natural feature of a self-aware species to go through these certain stages of civilization, the evolution of civilization, right? And when we look at it from a biocentric perspective, meaning only from what we know of ourselves, right? We assume that this stage or this thing that we're doing, right, is would be similar to other, you know, races out there, right? Is that this, you know, this particular activity that we seem to be on about, you know, for thousands of years, right? Where that I've described as a repeating pattern, right, also has an output that increases in resolution or technological sophistication, right? And so despite a zero fucking alteration of our fucking worldview, right? Our psychological identification of ourselves, right? Of what we think of as our nature. Is that, that we assume that this is a natural, right, stage of a civilization, right? And and so this is, when I was saying, sometimes I think that it was this spin cycle that we're in was initiated on purpose. The ends justify the means. And because it creates this situation, right, that I've spoken of, that would permit us to remain in this cycle, this spin cycle forever, right, for eternity, right? And that's not like, does that seem like a good way to ensure this our species survival? And obviously no, right? So if I really want to like describe this, right, I could work on this, but I'm hoping that it's like that I can say it, right, because I can visualize it right now. It's an unnatural, right? It's an imposed fucking rhythm, right? It's an unnatural rhythm placed on top of. It's a false creation, right? It mimics creation, and it can't help but to. But it is operates on the foundational polarity, right? Is of our civilization a is is artificial, right? Is made up, right? Is created. And so to me, that's where it seems like it's wrong, right? And that it's not just like a natural feature of the Kali Yuga, you know, that these cycles just repeat without any fucking, like we are all on aggregate that will just run the program, and this is what happens, over and over and over again. And right, to me, that's a throwing away of our gift, right, which is to take a hand, right? And that is the particular paradox, right? Is that how do you take a hand without claiming it's your hand? Which would be this, again, this would be akin to this false polarity, right? Which is this separation, this meta aspect, right? This artificial aspect, that anything we do is artificial, man-made. Yes, right? But that's where we have to embrace this paradox, right? Is that it, I mean, let me just back up a minute. So we created this artificial polarity, right? Which actually is what runs. This is what keeps our cycle going, right? And it's an inversion of the natural polarity, like it's backwards, upside down, right? And it's kind of like if you let a drain, it'll rotate the Coriolis effect. Sorry, fucking flat earthers. Fucking it'll spin a direction, right? But if you force that the opposite direction, right, it'll continue to go down the drain that way, right? If you impose an opposite stir in the beginning. And so to me, that's what our civilization is this continual opposite stir, And it's not, right, that's not our purpose, and it's not a natural fucking stage of a civilization, right? It's completely unnatural. And the only way to make it to the next level, right? If we want to talk about humanity actually instead of fucking perpetuating this fucking bullshit that we have, right? Which is this meta fucking world, right? Based on a false polarity. Instead of perpetuating that and building it into an automated system, because motherfuckers, right? Look around, right? If you're listening to this later, in the future, welcome all you future watchers, and you've actually like tried to comprehend what I'm saying, and you're a normie, right? This is your initiation, that this shit ain't natural, right? And we don't want to fucking get put into an automated system that just runs itself. That's fucking stupid as fuck, right? And so look around and you can see that that's what's happening. It's already mostly automated. Like even in the 1800s, the whole, I've explained in episode 11 and 12 of the podcast that, the financial system is really what fucking runs the show, right? It has the cycles built in, and it's pretty much automated, right? But they want even, they want it to be even more fucking capable of running itself, and that's what the technology provides, right? And so, jumping back a little more, like the only way a false rhythm can be established, right, in nature, right, and not be, is with particular intent, right? And it can only be installed, right, in a consciousness, right, in a individual consciousness, and because our species is a social species, right, then we relate to each other, and it's that substrate in which we survive. And so it's possible to install a false worldview, an inverted view of reality, right, into the mind of an individual, right? And that's the only way to maintain a false polarity, a false rhythm, right? Is to have it be installed in a consciousness as a belief. And so it requires us, there's nothing without us, right? And so it's all of us, right, that permit this to exist, this fucking bullshit, right? And that it's not, right, it's not just how it is, right? It's not just how it is, right? So don't allow that controlled opposition to take a hold of you, no matter what fucking tribe you're in, right? This whole idea that this is how it always was and this is how it always will be, is fucking a psychological operation. So, right, we can break the cycle, but we can't do it by interacting with it, because the laws of the universe are in play, even though it's a false construct, right? Meaning that as soon as you interact with it, right, you become involved with it, right? You create this disturbance, right, that has polarity, right? A superior and an inferior, right? And so all of our ability, all of our fucking manpower is going towards trying to fix something that is unfixable, right? That will only become more fucking grotesque the more we try to fix it, right? So the only way, right? And when I say the only way, right, that includes all the ways, right, except for acting on this false rhythm, this false, this meta reality, right? Because as soon as you act on the meta reality, then you're involved in the meta reality, and so our only, adding to the clicking of the gears of that wheel, right? So yes, to escape from it, you make the psychological transformation, right? And that's this like almost, it's a detachment, right? It's just like we all got to keep living, right? That's what makes it so hard to break this pattern. Is that okay, there's no fixing it, so I'm gonna jump ship, but still gotta fucking put food on the table, right? So there's a way to you can make this psychological transformation and right and keep playing, right? But you're playing your hand to shoot the moon, right? So you're keeping your cards close to your chest. You've already understood that this false construct is based on an inversion of reality, right? And but you're collecting all of the tricks, right? And you're collecting all of the hearts as you move forward, right? And doing it nonchalantly. And so we all do this together, right? And then there will be a moment at which, right, then all the hearts are collected, right? And the fucking game is over, right? And it's not a perfect analogy because we begin then, at that moment, despite having already been doing it, right, to go into the full fucking transparency mode, meaning that, look, this is what we're doing, and everyone's invited. There's no criteria for joining, right? But you'll find that if you're operating with an inverted conception of value, that it just your contribution, right? It's not like we'll write the fucking code in order to fucking spit these motherfuckers out. It's just that it won't be part of the effective production of value, right? Because it'll only, right? It'll just be, I mean, I can't really understand how to describe it. But if you get what I'm meaning, the psychological transformation does not permit that kind of operation, and the psychological transformation is the natural, the conception of value that is I mean, I'm like the conception of value that is natural, that is correct. Right, is that right? These words invoke a fucking, it's like, how can you just say that, right? What is the proper conception of value? And so in our particular case, right? In our particular case, value is is living, right? Right, and so that's what's valuable, right? Is living, right? Because living is, as we live, right? We create, right? And that is our particular embellishment of the creation. Right? That is the addition of novelty in alignment with the creation, the natural rhythm of creation. Right? So comprehend, the correct conception of value is right, to come at it from the opposite direction. The inverse perception of value, right, is that it's your living that matters. Right? The correct perception of value, of the value of life, right, is that all of us continue living so that we can continue our embellishment of the cosmos, which is why we came here. So this competition versus cooperation, right? So first of all, like I've described, as a species, society or civilization is like a body, right? Because we all are specialists, we're actually generalists, but in our society, we can't all be doing every necessary part of the ongoing function of society, because it doesn't make sense, right? It's not efficient. It's not an efficient division of labor for all of us to be doing all of the facets of what it requires for a civilization to continue, right? So there's organs of the body of society, right? And we all are the cells of these different organs, right? That provide flow, right? Blood flow, and in a civilization, the life's blood of the body is energy and information, right? So I've said this before, right? So we're comprehending that competition inside of a body, right? Where whole portions of the body are going to war with each other, right? That's an illness, right? That is disease. And so that this kind of competition doesn't build a better body, right? It destroys our ability to actually get better, right? Because it's a one step forward, one step backward, and that's pretty much. I mean, that's funny that I just said that, because in the game of life, that game that was designed by that software engineer in the 70s, right, is that's one of the things of that's one of the outcomes of a self-referencing system, right, is this bink, 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 this hung fucking behavior where it just alternates between two positions, right? So it's defeating of the body of civilization or the body of society for us to be in competition with each other, right? Because it destroys a whole portion, right, of the body, right, that otherwise could have been put to use, making the body more healthy, right? And so it's an unhealthy mode, obviously, right? And and so that it doesn't make sense to do it, right? And so this whole thing about competition being the driving factor or variable in innovation, right? Where survival of the fittest, right? You have all of these candidates come up against each other, and the best one win, but that's not what occurs, and that's that's the big motherfucking lie, right? Because it doesn't select for the better, right? it only selects for um, uh, for those that can game it the best, right? Those that have no conscience, right? Those that will, will set up a machinery in order to make sure that their portion of the supply is always guaranteed. So yeah, it doesn't, this social Darwinism thing, like it doesn't select for the best, right? The most creative. It actually selects for the least creative, right? Which are the ones who want to maintain control through threat of death in order to extract their portion of the creative collective, right? And so to that point, right? So in society, right, it's not survival of the motherfucking fittest, right? Because uh, the losers are still alive, right? It's like their fucking progeny will exist anyway, and in fact, without the large majority, right, of everyone, right, not being at the top of the pyramid, right. Um, it require the top of the pyramid requires the majority in order for it to exist, right? So it's not this social Darwin fucking viewpoint or argument, right, that the best rise to the top, right, is, it's utter fucking nonsense, right. It is um a capturing of the creative potential of the collective, right. That's what the elite are. And so it doesn't select, right, their bloodline don't have the ability to create. They only have the ability to right, what it's selecting for, right, is the ability to fucking uh, you know what I'm saying. Like, I could say all these words that would make it right. It's just parasitic is what it is, right. It's like attaching yourself to this, the body of uh, of society, right? And then just feeding off of it. And so it's like this, it's set up so that the competition, we are all competing with each other in order to like be able to ascend towards that fucking group, right? But the thing won't work if all of us get there, you know? That this system won't work if everyone's in the fucking the cap of the pyramid, right? So are you seeing what I'm saying? Is that this competition actually perpetuates this bullshit, right? And it doesn't permit the best to arrive. It actually uh, um, allows for a gatekeeping process to select from the masses, right? The chosen few, right, who get to contribute to the design of our culture. And so when you have that, right, then you're taking a tiny percentage of our capability and making it the only source of the output. And that's fucking stupid, right? That's fucking retarded. Are you following me? Right? It's like diminishing our potential by 98% or more, you know? So the inverse of that is there is no credibility gateways, right? That everyone is permitted to contribute, right? And that cooperation, right, is the idea that um, we're all operating to maintain this collective knowledge, right? Our total collective knowledge and to add to it, right? And so we permit everyone to we have the technology now to actually permit everyone to contribute, right? So not only do we have the technology to put ourselves into a technological feedlot that feeds the parasite, right, to permit ourselves to be put into it, we also have the technology to create um, you know to naturally be all that we can be, and not have to, modify our bodies with technology, right? We use technology, definitely, fucking hard, right? But we don't have to become cyborgs. We already have everything that we fucking require, right? It's not an improvement. It's a fucking downgrade. So, right, cooperation, right, is the idea that that we that there's this whole pool of potentiality, right, in each individual of all of us, right, and that to not allow most of us to put in an effort, towards what our gifts are drawing us to, is to diminish our capacity. And cooperation, as I was saying, is the motivating factor of fucking innovation, right? It is not competition, right? It is the fact that we all have gifts that are for everyone else, right? Because we live to exchange value, right, with each other. So, sometimes I'm beating a dead horse, but I wanted to make sure that this idea of competition versus cooperation, is put to rest. It's pretty fucking obvious, that inside of a body, right, cell competition, right, isn't all out war between fucking organs. That's called autoimmune disease, right? There's this exchange of information, right? And there is competition between cells in the body, because you don't want faulty cells fucking fucking up their purpose. But in the analogy is not perfect, right? But in the body of society, we basically are the cells of the body. And but it's a different thing, because each of us has this mind, this individuated laboratory in which the novel can spring at any second, and so to allow everyone a chance for that is how we actually speed up our solving of some of our larger problems, right? And so it's not putting us in this modified feedlot. Right? We don't want that, and we don't want self-destruction. We want this ever expanding, right? Not like empire expansion, but like this expansion of knowledge and understanding, right? Comprehension. This always moving forward, right? Never fucking pitching our tent and settling, right? And so how we do that is to permit full fucking action. And so, like, all right, no, you're beating a fucking dead horse. Right. So the idea is that we build the exchange, right, and we build the interface, right, for this participation, right, and so it begins with something, right, and that requires some of us to be the early adopters of this sacred exchange. Right? This exchange, it already exists, right, but has this parasite attached to it. Right, we can remove ourselves from the parasite, right, and reestablish a healthy fucking vascular system of the body of society. So, wow. I got to take off in a minute. So I'm just, I'm somewhat attached to the outcome because I love you guys. And I want, the joy and the love and the grace and the beauty, right? I want all that too, just like I want you guys to have that. So it's possible to do, and it's actually not that fucking hard, right? And for those of us who have been, visualizing, right, what what we are capable of, right, me, uh, yeah. Who else is out there? Like, let me know. I'm waving my flag, right? But it's like there's smoke on the battlefield, right? To me, right? It's like no, no. Bayonet charge into the fucking grape shot. Oh man. Uh, yeah, and so it's like, yeah, there's something that can be done, and so I'm talking about it and I'm working on it. I have all of this stuff, that is inside still, but let's, by asking, I always feel funny, but like Jesus Christ, man. Who else is out there that wants to actually be radical, right? Because yeah, I could do this thing, where I run around waving my flag everywhere and like build some amazing fucking products, right? Some prototypes. And well, I guess that's what I'll do. So join up or not, spread the word or fucking not. Unsubscribe or fucking hit the fucking notification bell or not. Whatever, man. It would be truly a blessing, and you know, I would be more grateful than I can even describe, right? To be in a team, right? To lead a team, right? I'm the best fucking leader, right? I can delegate like a motherfucker, you know, and I won't diminish your contributions, but I will fucking maintain focus, not my own, but the team's, right? On the outcome, right? So let's do this thing. Much love. Stay tuned.